So let's have a little chat, shall we? I have been sitting back and just looking at a lot of different frequencies and a lot of different things taking place, listening to a lot of different energies, and just coming into my own understanding of them. And I respect everyone who puts out their own frequency and their own energy into something because everyone has their own path and everyone has their own individual experiences within the spirit. So, with that being said, I want to talk about this first. I was having a conversation with someone in my family, and it was my aunt, as a matter of fact, and she was talking about how so many black people here in the DC area are addicted to this new version of marijuana. And she was telling me that this new type of marijuana that most black people smoke now, it does something to them in a negative way. It makes them act in very, let's just say, very weird ways now because it's not the same marijuana that my aunt and her generation used to smoke. And she was telling me this. And I was thinking about something. I was like, oh, okay. So I was watching a spiritual coworker, and they were talking about how other cultures are flooding the black community, which is a form of spell work, flooding the black community with all forms of drugs. And this has been going on for quite some time. And it really makes sense. And I'm going to go back to something that I talked about a while back. It really makes sense why the government, mainly the racist liberals, wanted to do so many different things to change the laws as it pertained to marijuana, making it a lesser offense, or outright making marijuana legal, like they did here in the DC area. Mainly in DC. In Maryland, it's still illegal. So, in my mind, my spirit said to me, that's right, keep them high, keep them dry, and keep them stupid. Keep them drunk, high, dry, and stupid. And if you do that, see, they know black people's weakness. If you do that, if you keep them high, drunk, dry, and stupid, you can implement anything you want and they will not fight back. This is not a government conspiracy theory. They actually made marijuana legal in different states. DC being one of them, even though DC is not a literal state, but DC being one of the places that marijuana is legal now. And I don't give a fuck who gets offended. If you smoke weed, you smoke weed. I ain't talking about you personally. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do. You can stick it up your ass if you want to. But I'm talking about spell work, mind control, and manipulation, and disempowering an entire group of people. Keep them in escape mode. Make them want to escape. Make them not be able to deal with reality. Because living in this physical world is only a small portion of reality. Which is going to lead into the next part of my video. But keep them drunk, dry, and high, and stupid. And they won't fight you back. They won't fight you back. They won't question anything. That's spell work. That's manipulation. But of course, people will bring up, well, marijuana helps people with cancer. It helps people with multiple sclerosis. It helps with this. It helps with that. Okay, maybe it does. But if you don't have those illnesses, and this is not to offend anyone that indulges in smoking, it's not about that. Even though I know people will take it that way, and I don't give a fuck. I'm talking about the agenda behind it and how marijuana is no longer marijuana. You don't know what you're smoking. So my spirit said, yeah, that's what they're doing. They're keeping them drunk, dry, high, and stupid. So they can do things like push certain agendas, throw certain things out just to see how people will react. For example, and this is no shade or anything like that, of course, no disrespect, but if you take it that way, that's your fucking prerogative. There's an actress named Sandra Caldwell. I have loved this actress for many years. As a matter of fact, she was born right here in the DC area. She was born in Washington, DC. And I've enjoyed her work for many, many years, and I still do. Very good actress. Very good actress. Bad actress. Did you all know? And let me give you a few of the movies that she's played in. She played in the series Soul Food. She did a guest appearance on there. She wasn't a series regular. She did a guest appearance on the series Soul Food. She played Kenny's physical therapist. Um, she also played in a few Lifetime movies. She played in Good Fences with Whoopi Goldberg and Danny Glover. Okay. In 2017, she revealed that she was not actually a born female, that she was born a man. And all of this time, we thought that this was a woman, but it was actually a transgender person. And that's okay. That's okay. Nothing against Sandra Caldwell. She's a good motherfucking actress. And I have respect for Sandra Caldwell because at least she has talent. I have respect for people who have talent, real talent. Her That's it. But it's the fact that she came out with this information in 2017. In 2017, the entire world was distracted. The entire world was distracted. We were distracted with the, presidency of the newly elected president at that time, Donald Trump. People were losing their mind over that. I was not. I was still going through the grieving process of losing my friend Chris Barry at that time. And I was watching Donald Trump he had no effect on me either way. You know, um, I was looking at it in layers, how they were pushing out all these different things, all of these different agendas, all of these different movements, and all of these things were distractions for what was going on in the underworld that they were uprooting, like sneaking in stuff about people really not being born females. So how many people, and it doesn't just have to be that way, it could be vice versa. It could be men or people that we think are men who were actually born women that we did not know. You feel what I'm saying? And this type of stuff is being promoted. and pushed out into the so-called universe. That's mind control, manipulation. So what do? Keep them high, keep them dry, keep them drunk, keep them dumb and stupid, and keep them distracted. Keep them distracted. These past 2 or 3 years have been an epic, an epic distracting tool or foundation. This has been an epic distraction strategy. That's the word I was looking for. Strategy. With that thing, you know what I'm talking about, that thing that ends with 19, that thing, that has been an epic strategic tool, along with all of the racism, so-called racism, along with all of the other tragedies that's going on right now, where the world is, kind of on edge, because Pootie Poo is mad that he can't have his way over there in Ukraine. And y'all know who I'm talking about when I say Pootie Poo. Pootie Poo. Now, I'm no fan of Ukraine either, because I heard they're very racist over there. And I don't give a fuck who gets offended. But I've always looked at Russia as a terrorist nation because of the nations that regime has supported. They support North Korea. Behind the scenes, I believe they support Iran. They supported Iraq. And look where that got them, because the weapons that Iraq used in the Gulf War, the first one specifically, those Scud missiles and all that shit, that was outdated Soviet Union weaponry. Same thing when Russia went into Afghanistan and lost that war because the United States was supplying the then Mujahideen, which Osama bin Laden was part of, if I'm not mistaken, before they became Al Qaeda. The United States was supplying them with weapons even then. Just a history lesson. So now Pootie Poo is mad because once again, it looks like he's losing, and now he's threatening to use tactical nuclear weapons. And that's not a laughing matter. We don't need a nuclear war. We don't need that on this planet. But when you keep people dumb, high, drunk, and distracted, they won't pay attention. They can't be clear to direct that energy to another dimension. We don't need that here. So when I really think about the drug use, the drunkenness, and all of the things that have been taking place with Black people, it makes sense. Because they don't want you to tap into that part of you that will give you the wisdom and the knowledge to direct this dimension or this reality in a way that you see fit. So you keep them high, you keep them drunk, and you keep them stupid. And I don't want to hear that marijuana helps you to go into different, states of consciousness. That is only supposed to be used for dire circumstances. That's not something to be used every single day. So there's no excuse. You're using that shit every single day, you're a drug addict. And I'm not beating around the bush about that. It's nothing wrong with somebody that wants to, smoke every once in a while. But if you have to do it every day, you're a fucking drug addict. And I don't give a fuck who that offends. Because Lamar Odom got a message from Kobe Bryant, allegedly, from the afterlife. And spirits will communicate with you in through dreams. My dreams are very prophetic. I saw the COVID, oh shit, I wasn't going to say that word, but I saw that pandemic coming a year before it happened, maybe a year or two before it happened. I saw it coming in my dreams. I did not know what it was then, but once things began to unfold, excuse me, I knew then, I said, oh, this is what spirit was showing me. So Lamar Odom claims that he had a dream, one of several, of Kobe Bryant coming to him in his dreams. And he said that the last dream, it was real vivid. He said something to me, excuse me, and oh God, he can't talk. I'm not going ever forget it. I'm talking like he's talking. We were having a shooting contest, and Kobe was so good at shooting the ball because he can step into the ball with either foot, left or right. We get to the 3-point line, right wing, and he looked back at me and said, hello, the afterlife ain't what people make it up to be. So, and I heard a spiritual coworker talking about this, earlier. And I just wanted to give my own, interpretation, not contradicting anything someone else says, but I want to give my own interpretation of what this really means and what Kobe Bryant is really saying. I really don't look at this as anything negative. I think what Kobe Bryant is saying, I think what he's saying is this. His experience in the afterlife is not what he thought it would be. His personal experience in the afterlife is not what he thought it was. It's not what he thought it would be. Let me break down the afterlife to people so you can understand, so people can have an understanding of the afterlife just a little bit. What influences your afterlife is not just the current life that you're living. So when Sia Grant transitions, when this avatar transitions, or when I transition, whatever, my experiences in the afterlife will not only be based upon this life, it will be based upon the lives you have lived prior to this one as well. See, that's the thing about the afterlife, and that can be either bittersweet or sweet bitter or sweet sweet. It all depends on who you really are behind this avatar. See, who you really are behind this avatar, you will face that when you go into the next world. And if Kobe Bryant is playing basketball, or if he came to Lamar Odom playing basketball with him in his dream, then what he's saying is this. He is saying that it's a same shit, different day, basically. Because that particular life of Kobe Bryant, that is the most dominant force of all of the lives he has probably lived. So he is continuously having that experience. But that may not very well be the case for other people. That may not be the case for other people. So when you go into certain aspects of the quantum or the astral quantum, your experiences are based upon not just one, but a culmination or a combination or a culmination of experiences that you have had, not just in this life, but in prior ones as well. And not just in this reality. Because when you go into the afterlife, everything is happening in the now. It's all primordial. There is no time there. There is no past, present, and future. Everything is the now. And with witches and alchemists and necromancers and everyone that does all of these darker works. And when I say darker, I don't mean negative, I mean hidden works. They pull from that realm. They pull from that realm, and that is how they're able to manifest. That is how I'm able to manifest. So the afterlife, as I see it, it's based upon you. It's based upon you and everything that you have culminated in all of your lives, all of your experiences, and all of your existences, even the ones you're not aware of. So whatever you experience, it's based upon that. So I think some people are interpreting it as Kobe Bryant is saying that the afterlife really ain't all that. Well, maybe what he's saying is that it's not what he thought it was. Maybe he thought that it was going to be more aligned with the stories that we hear from other people, with the white light and the religious context of what the afterlife is. But there are many different realms within the quantum realm. There are many different levels of consciousness within there. Some of them are lower, some of them are higher, some of them are in the middle in the gray area. And I think that Kobe Bryant is probably in a more grayer, lower area because sometimes, and I don't give a fuck who gets offended. It's not about you. It's not about being a fan of his or whether I like him or not. But what did you do? And I'm not just speaking in terms of Kobe Bryant. I'm speaking in terms of anyone. What did you do to cultivate your spirit so when you did make that transition, you would go into a higher frequency or a higher vibration? Because a lot of people get stuck in the lower vibrations, in the lower, grayer areas. That's the only way I can think of it. Let's just think of the higher vibrations as being a blue or purple color. Let's do it that way. The lower vibrations are more red and minutia. And the gray area is maybe like a purgatory type of place where people can be waiting to try to find another body to incarnate through. So if he is saying that the afterlife is not all that, then he's simply saying that he's caught in that gray area. And in that, they do this in that movie. Not a movie. It's a series called Upload. And they're doing it in a real layman type of way. If you don't have enough spiritual cultivation, if you don't have enough consciousness, then you will go to one of those grayer areas. Your consciousness will match with that gray area within the so-called afterlife. Everyone does not have the same experiences. And the reason that a lot of spirits that come to people may tell them, oh, this is not what it's hacked up to be, you have to remember a lot of people are not spiritually in tune anymore. So they're falling down into these, when they transition and they no longer have a body, they're falling down into these grayer, lower vibrating areas. So that is why they want to keep you drunk. They want to keep you high. They want to keep you dry, and they want to keep you dumb and distracted. Because when you are those things, you are a slave spiritually and physically. So I think that what Kobe Bryant was saying to Lamar Odom, he's telling that nigga, you better get your shit together. And you better realize that money and fame and all that bullshit, that's not where it's at, because you're going to spend most of your time over here in this realm. That is where you spend most of your time, whether you remember it consciously or not. We do get peaks, or we do get examples of what our afterlife will be like when we dream. And if you're okay with your dreams, then that's fine. I'm okay with mine. I'm okay with my dreams. Sometimes my dreams can be interesting, but I'm okay with my dreams. And again, it's all about the level that you're on spiritually. It's not a good or bad or thing. It's just what level you're on spiritually. And unfortunately, a lot of people, they don't cultivate the non-physical or the spirit. They cultivate materialism. Kobe Bryant was not a spiritual person. He wasn't very spiritual. If we are to go by the symbology in this dream that Lamar Odom is telling people about, okay? And this is not to offend any Kobe Bryant fans, which I don't give a fuck about. You can get offended all the fuck you want. I'm not talking personal, I'm talking spirit. And looking at this from a spiritual standpoint, you could have all the money in the world but lose your motherfucking soul. And maybe Kobe Bryant is telling Lamar Odom, you don't want to end up like me because I lost my soul. What's interesting is that his daughter was not with him. The daughter that died with him in the plane, the alleged, not plane, but the alleged helicopter crash, she was not with Kobe Bryant. So did she incarnate back into the physical? Maybe that's what it is. Or could it be that she's in another dimension? Maybe she's in a higher frequency. Maybe that's what it is. So when I think of the afterlife is not just one particular place. There are many different parts of the afterlife that people can end up in. And it's not about a bad or good. It's not about, well, how can I put this? I'm not making this into bad and good. That's practical. But based upon who you really are is where you go, or what experience you have, or what type of experience you have. If you're a fucked up individual, a low vibrating individual, then you will go to those lower, more what people would call hellish types of realms, or have those types of experiences. And it has to be a culmination of many lifetimes of not getting it. And you're creating this energy for yourself. So that's probably why he would say the afterlife ain't what it's hacked up to be. Because he did not understand the mechanism and the function of the afterlife. When you go into the afterlife, there's no guarantee that you're going to run into your old pals from this life. There's no guarantee you're going to run into your grandma Lula May, or Roselle in that afterlife. There's no guarantee of that, because you two may be on two totally different levels spiritually. There's no guarantee you're going to run into ancestors that you recognize. You may run into ancestors or be amongst ancestors, that you did not even know in this life. That could very well happen. That could very well happen. But when you keep them drunk, when you keep them high and when you keep them dry and keep them distracted, they won't understand this. And having all of that money that people worship, having all of that, that keeps you distracted as well. Because there is no currency in the afterlife. There's no currency there. And let me say this as a disclaimer. Having lots of money is not a bad thing. Let me say that. I want to say that first. Being prosperous and abundant is not a bad thing. That's a wonderful thing. The problem is that people oftentimes lose a large part of themselves only focusing on materialism. So when they do transition, they have no spiritual juice or no spiritual guidance or no spiritual experience on how to maneuver through the quantum realm. And that is what you come here to relearn. How to maneuver in that world which is eternal. Because there's no guarantee you're going to be able to come back here all the time. It just depends on the frequency and the vibration that you're on. And it depends on the many lives that you've lived and the decisions that you have made. So maybe Kobe Bryant in prior lives, maybe he did not make the best decisions. So now he is feeling those experiences from prior existences in the afterlife. The afterlife is not linear. It's non-linear and it's not technical. It's based upon light frequency and vibration and spirit. And if you don't have the spiritual experience to deal with that realm, then you will go where you're supposed to go accordingly based upon your frequency. So anyway, that's all I really wanted to come through and say. I didn't really have too much to say other than that. But it's okay to have money and to be prosperous. It's nothing wrong with that. But you also have to cultivate and work on your spirit. And you do that through your meditation and whatever it is that you do. You do that by disconnecting from the material world and going inside of you. And you do that by closing your eyes. You do that by zoning out and having a conversation with your spirit and letting those emotions come up, even the ones that are uncomfortable. Let them come up because that's your spirit trying to tell you something and trying to talk to you. I really don't think there's much difference from this world versus that one over there. I think the difference is that here we're in physical linear bodies. So it feels like we're more in control. Whereas over in the afterlife, you're going to have to use your mind to maneuver. You're going to have to use your mind to maneuver through that realm. And I think that is the trick right there. And because Kobe Bryant did not use his mind on a spiritual level here, over there, he's probably still trying to have a physical existence in a world that's not physical. And that is why he's saying, it ain't all that it's made up to be. People don't understand this world because people are trying to have physical experiences in a non-physical world. Look at the movie Ghost. That was a prime example. I think Ghost is really a prime example of what the afterlife, or a good example, it could be a good example of what the afterlife could possibly be like. Because at the end of the day, it's all speculation until we actually experience that, because my experience is different from everyone else's. Now, the spirits that come to me that I see over there, to me, they don't seem to be unhappy. To me, they're just having their existences, like relatives. Like last night, not last night, but the night before, an ancestor came to me. She said, I'm okay. She passed away a few months ago. She said, I'm okay. She said, and you're okay too. Said to me, she said, you're okay too. I asked her, I said, are you okay? Is there anything? She said, I'm okay. She said, this is my heaven right here. And she was in the house that she lived in. The sky was a beautiful twilight sky. It wasn't dark, it wasn't too dark, and it wasn't too daylighty. It was in between. It was like a twilight. Like early in the morning, between 5:30 and 6, how the sky looks. It was similar to that. And it was so peaceful and so beautiful. And she told me that I am in heaven. She said, this is my heaven. And that tells me the type of person she has been in most of her lives. She's on a higher frequency, and she was very deeply melanated. It was my uncle's ex-wife, and me and her were very close. So anyway, that's all I really have to say. I just wanted to give my 2 cents, and that's it. Thanks.